Mic check. All right, we got 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Is this the right camera? It is. Hey guys, welcome to this week's CertifiedTinter.com live stream here on the Tint Stuff channel. I, of course, am Matt, and today we're going to be going over finally both Lexan window film. Well, actually, that's the big thing that we're going over today. It has been very requested by you guys, so I finally picked up a roll. A 20-inch by 100-foot roll, and then one in 35, 5, and 20%. So we get a good range of what the colors are, what it's like to work with a little bit. I didn't spring for the full-size roll because I didn't really want to spend $100 on it. However, you'll see in this video, you get a good idea of what it's like to at least shrink, and then I'm going to definitely put it through its paces for a full review that's going to be coming out soon enough. But I really want to try and wear the color out of it first, so that's why the full review of it is going to take a little bit of time. Plus, I just, want to throw it on some extra stuff, roll around with it. So I've heard nothing but positive stuff for it. I've heard nothing but positive stuff of it so far, which is really good. But, it definitely has a couple of alarming things, at least on the box. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and jump into it. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Second thing, actually, real quick. The second video, actually, that I'm going to show today is Honda Accord, like the 2010 model with a little rubber stripe that kind of cuts off that corner of the window. There are people that pull those out, but I'm not going to do that. I figured out a way to tint that section of it. And it's not as, it's still a little challenging, but it's not super bad. But just something I kind of figured out with some recommendations also from the people from the Facebook group. So big shout out to them, and we're gonna go ahead, I guess, and jump into it in just a sec. Hey everybody in the chat, what's up? Sorry, I'm getting distracted reading your questions already. But yeah, let me go ahead and get started. So here we go. Lexan, 3, 2, 1. I have it. You guys have greatly requested me to look at this film, give my thoughts on it. So I have a full review that will be coming out sometime in the next month or so. We have to put this through some weather testing first. Today we're going to go over an initial impressions of what it looks like and what it's like to shrink. So I have a 20-inch roll by 100 feet of Lexan's premium carbon color stable lifetime warranty window film. Now, the color stable part is the part that really gets me on a film that's this inexpensive on both Amazon and eBay. I picked this up for like 50 to 60 bucks for the full roll, and that's really dumb cheap for color stable film. Normally a roll like this would cost you about $100, $100, $110 depending on who you're ordering from. So for half the price, that's pretty unusual. So let's go ahead and pop this open. I also picked up 35% and 5%, so we could go over what the color looks like. So this one looks like it's the 5%, and really on cheap films, they generally seem to look a little bit blue or very green. Looking at this right now, it actually looks pretty neutral. That's good. Yeah, you can see it, right? That's actually a good looking film. Also in my Amazon video, like when I've picked up cheaper films, I usually say like they feel flimsy or they feel rubbery or they feel cheap. They don't feel like a well-made polyester. This actually so far feels pretty good. It feels like it actually is a 1.5 mil film. Points, good points for Lexan so far. So let's look at the 35%. The reason I got 5% is because you can see a lot more color in it. Going to 35%, it's definitely lighter. You don't get as strong of a color out of the lighter stuff. This actually has a little hint of blue. It's not as neutral as the 5%, which I wasn't expecting. I figured this would just be a direct lighter version of the 5%. So let me try and pick both these up. So I don't know how well you can see this offhand. One of them looks a little bit more neutral. The 5% looks a little more neutral, and the 35 is a little bit on the blue side. Not a bad thing because it's so light, so you probably wouldn't have much of a problem if you threw it on the front of factory tinted windows. Then again, we always have to keep into consideration the price point of this film too. It's very, very, very cheap for what it is. At least it seems like so far. So let's go ahead and crack open the long roll. Come on, come on, come on, come on. So I install 20% film the most, more than anything. So we got a little, what do we have here? Window tint film installation instructions. So they threw some paper installation instructions. We'll just leave that. You're not really going to learn much from that anyways. Scotch tape on window film, it usually comes off clean, but you can see it left some glue spots on here. It's on the clear side, so it's not damaging anything. But sometimes, like Scotch tape, it doesn't really expand or contract, so it can leave little marks and stuff on the film side too, depending on how it was rolled. And looking at this, it's pretty good. It's definitely more on the neutral side. Maybe a little hint of blue, but probably the best looking inexpensive film that I've seen so far. It looks really good. Yeah, I got no problems with the way this feels so far, and with the coloring of it. It's really inexpensive. It's a good looking film. In this video, we're gonna do a shrinking test just with the 20%. We're gonna also put these rolls on my fast fading lamp system that I will show in the full review video when it comes to that. I've already talked about it in like some of my community postings and stuff. So let's go ahead and throw this on. Oh. There's no good way to do this. There really isn't. If you guys ever wondered on shrinking Marauders and stuff like that and these old cars, you either got to toss it over or you got to have that awkward walk around. Lumar's a little easier because it's rolled the other way, but this stuff, most other rolls you have to try and toss them over or something like that. You just got a lot of car to walk around. So now that we have this on the glass, you can see, well, it's probably hard for you to see. 20-inch is just a little bit shy on this, and I knew that going into it, but the thing about the Marauder is it's got a very stubby back window. So you'll at least get a good idea of what it's like to shrink, at least from watching this. But you would need to get at least a 24-inch size roll, but they only had 20 inches, and I think 40-inch was the other size that they had available. So I didn't want to invest in a full 40-inch roll because you'll be able to tell the majority of things from just this side and a pretty curved window. So if this doesn't want to shrink well in this amount of space, then it's not going to be a very good film to work with, even if you get a longer roll. So let's go ahead and let's see how she shrinks. I've seen a lot of cheap films shrink very well and then very poorly. So just because you have a cheap film doesn't mean that it does shrink bad. So here we go. Let's just try and, I guess, shrink this like I normally would. I really wouldn't have like the best understanding until like I shrank this on a handful of cars either, so that's why really this is just a first impressions video, but I've had films give really good first impressions. So I also went with a 100-foot roll so I could try it on some other stuff too. So I'm going to be installing it on a door window. I'm going to roll around with it and really just get a good understanding of what this stuff is like, and hopefully put it through its paces in a wear test to see if I can get the color to fade out of it. I'd consider that fine so far. It's not super quick. Well, that's a little better. It's not super quick. So this part's going to be the easiest to shrink, and then when we start getting up into these tighter corners, this is where you're going to really start seeing how easy it is to work with. So all I really would expect out of this is to be good enough. If it exceeds those expectations, that's fantastic. But I mean, I fully expect to be able to shrink this on most any back window. A lot of films will just maybe have a slight learning curve depending on like how easy they are to work with. So here you can see it's not going down that easy on the edges, and it's starting to do this a little bit. It's starting to like peak together just a little bit here. And I don't like seeing that. This might make me get a longer roll actually. And then shrink it on a full cart. God, I should have just bought the full bigger roll, right? Yeah, see, this is becoming a pattern now. So 1, 2. Let's see if we can get them to go away. So I just might have to like curl the edges more rather than just try and shrink them head on. But when it peaks together like that, that doesn't make it easy, but it is going away. So it's probably got a little bit of a learning curve to it. Most films, I can put a little bit more aggressive heat right there and they'll lay flat, or you can curl it and then you'll be fine. So it's about figuring out that happy balance. So let's go to the other side. One quick thing also that I keep in mind is like, what does it feel like to cut and tear? And it tears really easy. Like, it doesn't feel the same. It feels a little different. And this is not something that I can exactly tell you what to compare it to. Just, it feels like a almost like shipping tape is kind of what I would compare that to. And that's fair because it's polyester, but different polyesters or grades of polyester feel differently. So this is by no means marks against it or for it. If anything, I guess that's for it because it tears easily, so you can pull away very well. But it reminds me a lot of the shipping tape that I use. Just not exactly what I'm accustomed to. But it's good to know that it's easy to tear at least. I've had some films basically rip when you go to tear them away. So just another little random thing to note. So that was easy up to this point. So that's good. So this is really why I chose this back window, because it has some aggressive corners in the top that'll really make a film go through its paces a little bit. It also would help to have some extra material so I could pull shrink it a little bit more. So I might have to buy the longer roll, but I really didn't want to. Maybe I'll just buy one of their kits and just ask them to bulk roll it so I at least have 10 or 20 feet of it. Yeah, it's okay, but you definitely it's got this easy point, and then you get to this point up here, it seems like it started to melt the edge a little bit. So it's got this easy window where you can shrink it, and then it seems to just not lay down as quick as I guess a traditional American film, but it doesn't always have to be. The Avery Dennison film that I used, that's made out of Israel, so that stuff shrinks really well. But there's a lot of films that have their own little quirks. It's just something to note right now. It speaks nothing. Shrinking a film really doesn't speak a whole lot about the quality of film that it actually is. Because there's ceramic films that'll shrink very quickly and very easily, and then there's ceramic films that'll take a long time to shrink, and they're both good. So this is just what you would have to deal with if you got this film. This is kind of what you're going to have to deal with. You can see I might shrinking a little bit more differently here. I'm trying to just kind of move the heat around a lot. and throw some heat underneath it, try and curl it more, rather than just stick up here. And that's helping. But you don't want to burn the edge, so see, that helped it lay down a lot faster. This is why when you review something, you really have to spend some time with it to give it a fair review. But this is definitely not the quickest film that I've used. That award probably goes to like Lumar and this, I think that cheap Amazon film, and honestly GeoShield went down super quick too. All other films, even my Avery, it shrinks well, but it's not the fastest shrinking film I've ever used. So yeah, there we go. It all shrunk down, so that's a good thing. And I mean, there's dryer sheet on it right now, so it's hard to tell, you know. The color looks consistent, nothing weird about that. One thing I am curious about too is how it peels, so we're gonna find that out really quick. So I'm just gonna cut a chunk off of it, and let's say I was peeling a quarter window or a door. Try and get that corner there, and then just, because I've had like cheap films have a really thick liner and the film's really thin. This liner feels normal, the film still feels good. The glue, I guess, feels a little bit on the light side, but I guess that might mean there's just more film there, more polyester. I just want to do that one more time. I don't know, I'm just really curious. These are all just little things that you kind of pick up over the years as you use different films. It's a little hard to get going, but it's easy to peel. There's no problems there. So for doing doors and stuff like that. And then it's a matter of, let's put this on the glass and then move it around and see how it is to work with. But that is going to be reserved for my full review down the road. I'll show the setup that I have for weathering the film. I've already talked about it a little bit in my YouTube community tab. You can check that out. So yeah, finally tried out some Lexan film. It's actually so far pretty decent. It looks, I'd say, good, definitely for the price. It's easily the best film that I've felt for the price, and also it's got the best color. So already, if you guys are interested in a less expensive film where you might get some more longevity out of it, I'd try this film for sure. But I cannot say how long it is going to last. I've had plenty of films that have said they are going to last for a long time, not. So we'll hopefully be able to find that out in the near future. But for now, that's kind of my initial impressions on it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Boom. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Actually, a pretty glowing review so far, or first impressions with Lexan film. I was pleasantly surprised after, you know, the Walmart Black Magic film that I used, the Gila film, multiple cheap films from Amazon that I've tried, so the film by MK Brothers, and I was really starting to, you know, every cheap film that I came across felt like it was just utter garbage, and it gives all the other, you know, if there's a decent film out there, all these bad films give, you know, that one film that might be good a bad name because of just the environment that it's in, you know, with all around the cheap ones. There's only so many cheap films that I can try, but this one was definitely requested. People had been saying that they've been using it for at least a couple years, but that could really mean anything in the world of Amazon and eBay. So everybody's got different experiences depending on where you live and what films that you've used in the past and stuff like that. So I've used everything from, you know, 3M color stable, ceramics. I've kind of been all over the place with color stables, carbons, and had a fair shake. The color on this stuff actually looks really good for, it looks really good, just period. The feel of it is very similar to a lot of films that I already use. Like I said, it tears a little bit differently, so there's some structural differences there. And the glue, like I'll get into the glue and stuff like that, so I'll have to probably tin a back window with it, and then tin a door, roll around with it, tin a few handful of windows really, and then I want to put it on my lamp test thing that I'm setting up in the garage right now. And I'm going to run that for about a month and really see if we can wear the color out, because the color stable claim is really like lifetime excuse me, lifetime warranty color stable claims is really where you have a problem with cheap films, because it's just like any shop that any shop that throws out a lifetime warranty claim on their film. Like, they could, be buying the cheapest film around, say it's got a lifetime warranty, and then a year later the color has faded out, it's turned purple, it's delaminating, any number of things. So that really speaks poorly about, not only in general, like people throwing around a lifetime warranty claim, but also what the film potentially could be. Somebody could bait and switch you, that type of stuff. So, um, so far, I would fully endorse somebody that wants to get into film, looking for something that's just a little bit better than what the bottom of the barrel is. This stuff so far, I would highly recommend. I've just it's a good all-around film, definitely for practicing, 100%. Good to see that from such an inexpensive film. So I really want to suss out this color stable claim. I just can't believe that it's a color stable film. But we'll find out, or hopefully we'll be able to weather it. But people have been saying it's at least good for a couple years so far. So hopefully your mileage is as good as that. So let's get into let me just scroll back through a couple of questions really quick. Um, sorry, I went on a tangent and I lost track of all the comments. What type of cutting plotter can you recommend? That's a good one. So for plotters, Graphtec and Roland are going to be the high-end plotters, and then Jaguar and Vinyl Express are a little more economical. I don't have any experience with the Jaguar or Roland, but Patrick from Window Tinting Business, he uses a Roland every day, and he likes it. I've used Graphtecs, and they're twitchy, but they're still like really good machines as far as like they continuously run. The one in the shop that we're using has been around since like 2005. And also Vinyl Express is actually Graphtec's like cheaper cousin. As far I can't tell the difference between the two. So yeah, definitely look into that market, like US Cutter and the stuff on I should get an eBay plotter. But when you start getting into like the Amazon and eBay plotters, like the dirt cheap ones, they're made for vinyl, not for window tint. So that basically means like you need really tight tolerances for plotters to cut window film because it's so thin and very, very touchy. Vinyl has a thick paper backing and then the vinyl, so it's a lot more forgiving, so you can go with a cheaper machine and still do very well. But yeah, definitely look in that range. Like Vinyl Express is probably what I'd recommend, but I like hand cutting the best, of course. I want to know how it compares to Blackmagic Tint from Walmart. Lexen is infinitely better so far. Blackmagic was just blue. I think. I'm pretty sure. Go back to my video. Look at whatever I said about the color. Pretty sure it was blue. I know for a fact the Gila film was very blue. So the color in this stuff is already better. It feels way better. The liner peeled way better. So if you want something that's easier to at least work with, definitely start out with the Lexan over that stuff. It's worth it spending a little bit extra money. Other than their old dyed film, I faded a little bit, but it's holding its color. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm assuming that's about Lexan. About like the comment was, well, other than their old dyed film had faded, but it's holding its color. I don't know. I'm losing track on comments too. What's the best way to test my ceramic? I've always liked the heat box. You take a IR bulb from like Walmart, Home Depot. They sell like the big 250 watt IR light bulbs. It's just a great demonstration. It's not 100% accurate to what you're going to feel outside, but it is very comparable. If the film blocks a lot of IR from that bulb, then it's going to block a lot of IR out in the real world. So, and then the other best way is just keep it on your windows, roll around with it, and then try, mix and matching if you're trying a couple different ceramics, just put a piece on your windshield, had tint half your door window, half the other one, and just compare between a couple. That's always a good way, is just throw it in your car, drive it around and see how you like it, and then try some other ones too. 159. I've used Lexan for over a year. It goes up every month or so. $10. First roll was 100 a year ago. Oh, okay. That makes sense too. Steady price increases, especially on the Amazon and eBay front, because it's just very competitive. Amazon and eBay eats into your profit margin. So this is one reason why I was really skeptical, like I still am extremely skeptical on their claims, because when you market something on Amazon and eBay, they take a percentage of all your sales. So that's at least 10 to 15% depending on what you're selling. And they also want you to offer stuff like free shipping, and they do not compensate for free shipping by any means. So you've got, take the price of your film, then your running costs, and then all the profits that they want to take, and then you really left with very slim margins. So it's just a tough environment. So that's why a lot of the time you don't see professional window film tools on there. You'll see like cheaper Chinese variants and stuff like that. The reason being is just because American manufacturing is more expensive, and people are always fighting for the bottom dollar, and there really is very slim margins on window tint tools as well. So you'll always find them on window tint tool websites, and I would highly recommend everybody go support their local distributors and stuff like that. But we offer these training tools too, as well as a way to get into it, and then from there I always use professional stuff too. So it's just, yeah, it's a tough market. So products in general right now are just a super tough market. But let's see. Anyone can order Lexan. I have their 35% on my windshield. It looks great. I tint a lot of other windshields with their 50% too. Yeah, good to know. It looked good. I was impressed. So it's good to know it looks good on a windshield still. The color and the clarity seem fine so far, but I need to put it on the glass too. What film is actually worth pushing or being your main go-to for carbon and ceramic? Ooh, that's a good question, because it's tough to recommend. What's my go-to? Right now, I'm running around with Helios ceramic, and probably GeoShield is definitely a good one. They've sent some of their film my way. I haven't really shopped around for a bunch of ceramics lately, mainly because the places that I tint at don't sell a whole lot of ceramic. So there's been one variety of film that's been sold at under a number of different brand names and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into the details too much on that, but but I've been using Helio ceramic. I really like it, and then I'd recommend GeoShield any day. It's a really good film. Of course, you have your higher end ones like Lumar ceramic and stuff like that, but all of them are pretty good at this point, as far as what they look like. Some of them will have a little bit more low angle haze. That's usually with when they add carbon to the film. Carbon is really where you're going to get a little bit more cloudiness to the film. So just shop around for a handful of them. But look at what most people are installing as far as what are like the big brands that are out there, and then just kind of like shop around those and see what you like. So it's like there's a lot of good ceramics out there right now. So it's comes down to almost splitting hairs sometimes between one or the other. Most customers are gonna be happy with whatever you're throwing on your car or on their car. Is Helios Nano ceramic good to go with? Yep, it's a good one. It's what I'm using right now, actually. Been using it for a while. It's really good. What is your average tint per car a day for a year? What is your average tint? What? I'm trying to pick out what the exact question is out of there. Is it like average how many cars per day per year? Is that it? It's up and down. Oh, Lexan's in here. They had no idea I was doing this video. But yeah, it's kind of cool that they actually picked up that this video was even happening. So I'm sure they'll be happy with my initial impression so far. But yeah, I'm cool with them answering whatever questions you guys got about it. So far it's good. So as long as it's good, I'm happy with it. Um, that's sweet. I just want people to end up with a good film at the end of the day, whether you're spending, less on a film or more on a film. So just getting the best bang for your buck. Is it better than Black Magic? I think I answered that already. Okay, so from this point, I'm gonna try and scroll through and pick out some more questions. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into the second video of today. It's another like 13-minute video, but today is more of the this video is more of the educational one for today. I apologize for the audio. We shot this one on a cell phone. Just kind of run and gun for this one. But the 2010 Honda Accords have the rubber seal. I'll explain it in the video, of course. I know I'm babbling right now. But I used to tint them a certain way, and actually today I was just like, I bet I can probably shove the tint back there. So you'll see in the video, they can be a bit of a pain in the ass, and we'll go from there. So jump into that one, and pow. All right, so I have a 2010. Oh no!
Kind of notorious just for one thing, and that is these quarters right here. So we have this little rubber channel that curves around, and this little rubber gasket will keep the tint from going past this spot right here. So what I would often do is do what I did on the like the 2010 model Fusion, and just you cut right up to this edge and tint it and call it a day. You usually can explain that to the customer, and I haven't had any issues really, but for the sake of trying to make myself better, I came up with a little thing that I hope is helpful to you guys. So all I'm gonna do, I've seen some other people do something similar with other quarter windows on like Facebook and stuff. So I'm gonna take a couple of tri-edges right here. You can use any other triangular cards or something, but the premise here is just you need to try and loosen up this gasket a little bit. So what I ended up doing was I used one of the triangle cards and pressed it in, and that just pulls back the rubber seal a little bit, and then we're going to put in the other triangle the other way. So that way we've got all the way up to here, and we're really just trying to stretch out this seal a little bit before we go to tint it. Another thing that was actually helpful was taking a heat gun and just gently warming the inside. So that way when you're like stretching out a cold seal, you warm it up a little bit, and you can try and get it to form just back a little bit farther away from the glass. Frees up a little bit more space, and then you can, prime it, let it sit, go ahead, tint the rest of the car, come back to it, and then, you can also spray it down, cool it back down, hopefully, just get it to reshape it a little bit. So after we do that, really, just go ahead and cut out the quarter window. So I like to do these pretty much exact because you don't have a lot of wiggle room. You really have no wiggle room whatsoever. Oh, let me also show you guys this. If you have a little like edge here, one thing that you can do to make your cutting a little bit simpler is line up your edge of the film with like a corner, because that's where the film's going to bunch up the most, so you get the rest of it overlapping your edges like normal. But if you can take advantage of one of these little spots, it'll line up really nicely and makes your cutting a little bit easier. So we're going to fix this to the glass, put out just a teeny tiny little bit of blade, and just we're going to go along the whole thing. See, this is where it would normally bunch up, but now it's not going to because I had that little spot freed up. So, down. These corners, I'll stay a little bit shy. I don't like to push them in too much if it's going to bunch up. So I'll take it and then straighten it out on the glass. And you want to free up just a little bit more space. So I'll round it just a little bit extra. Because if you have like a funky little point, it'll often just jam up in the corner or something, and then you won't be able to get your film to lay down. So now that we got that, we're going to go ahead and shrink this quarter, because this little piece of glass is deceptively curved, and you're going to have stuff popping up if you don't shrink it, especially because this rubber holds some water. So you just want to make it as easy on yourself as possible. Let's do the top a little bit too. You don't have to, but they're pretty rounded, so just a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom. Just makes it even. So now we're gonna pick up our film, and we're gonna go to the inside. So now that that's been stretching out for a while, we're gonna remove these, and we gotta clean it. Now, for cleaning this, you have to go a little excessive, in my opinion anyway. So I'll take a blade and I'll sweep out these seals with them. I'll spray a lot more water on these types of windows just because there's so much dirt that can jam up in the corners. So especially when you get one that has not been cleaned. This one's in pretty good shape. So like, see how that water stops right there? That's bad. We don't want that. We want it. We need to pull back that seal just a bit and flush that out. So that way we're really not gonna get any dirt falling in, and we can rinse it all off. I don't really squeegee these very much. I just kind of rinse them down. And then peel your liner and almost trip over a stool. Curly little bug. So when we put this on, we need to just kind of gently slide this in. You gotta put a little bit of pressure on the glass, pull back the seal a little bit too. Your film's gonna wanna bind up and stick, especially this one. But if you just try and take it easy, sometimes it'll go. The cooler the glass is, the easier it's gonna be. A lot of times it's gonna try and lock up on you. See, I'm still shy. Hopefully it didn't just like... This I would call not the easiest. Once you get it to like free up and you can give it a little bit of wiggle room, then you're much better. See, we're pretty much covered. So, from there, I'm gonna roll up this bottom just a teeny tiny bit. I cut this pretty slim all the way around so we don't have hardly anything to tuck. You do have a little bit of room to tuck the bottom, and it's mostly about just keeping a lot of your edges as exact as you can. So this corner is what I was talking about earlier, the top corner. That's why I rounded it off. You don't want to create too much problems for yourself, so I'm just going to kind of leave that, and I'm going to try and get it all out in one sweep. One swoop, one sweep. So let's get the rest of this locked down and try and make this easy on ourselves. So we got two spots that are going to be the most difficult. We got this one up here, and then we got this one over here. So I'm going to try and work everything over to those spots. Just like squeegee all the water out really around the spots, up to them even. See it like pushes it up and then comes back down. If you do that, even after you've swept it out a bunch, a lot of times dirt will feed back in. So you really have to try and get it out in one go. So let's start with just the sides, because they could also start to roll or show a finger or something like that. Yeah, there we go. Probably gonna have a couple little spots to touch up to as well. So here's usually the best way I figured to get this. Take something smooth and sharp, like a easy reach or a cheese slice, get it underneath the seal, and then just start going up and then bring it over. See how that popped up? I was hoping that would not do that, but it does happen. As long as, yeah, it's a curly bugger. As long as it's clean, you shouldn't have much of a problem. So it looks like it's fine. That's good. I got a couple little bubbles to push out up here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to heat this little guy out right there. And then the next one is this bit right here. This is just, it's tight, and these cards and stuff, they're really handy, but they're a little bit thicker in the middle than they are on the outside. So what often happens is because they're not flat, you don't really get an even press towards this edge. So it'll start to press firmly up to where you see these like little air bubble trails. So you just have to kind of put a little bit more pressure, get a little creative with your squeegeeing. But sometimes, you know, just a lot of pressure and the right angle and multiple sweeps and you'll get them to go out. So we have a little teeny tiny thing that we got to press out there. But overall, we're looking really, really good. So, let's see if that'll lock down. Nope, we got to heat that guy out. So let's go ahead and do that. Got a couple little touch-ups. No biggie. So let's start with this one right here. This will happen a lot of the time. You usually have a little spot here or there to touch up, so it's never going to be 100% perfect, but you can definitely minimize it. And now that little spot is down. That's awesome. That's great. So we got a little bit right here. We just need to seal down this edge. Probably had to do with butting it up against the edge, trying to tuck it in. You know, it didn't exactly go in as smooth as what I would have liked. But, you know, you can't see through this spot. It's all pressed into the seal. And if you touch it up and make it look pretty perfect on the outside, then you'll be good. See, we even have a little super small hairline gap. But because of the way the seal is, you'll never notice it. You try and get them as close as you can with the edge. Ideally, you'd go a little bit past, but this is just the way this one happened to go.
Leave it right.
Yeah, shit looks good. Alrighty, let me wipe this off. Give you guys a little bit of a close up, and then close out.
Alright, stop. Leave it there.
Well, shit.
Sorry.
Just had to be in another video.
Yeah. Photo, video, mommy.
Alright.
Gee, take it out and move it again.
Alright.
Right here.
So let's make sure.
No, come on an angle this way.
Awesome.
Swipe.
So here we go. You guys see that looks all pretty all the way around.
One more time.
Turned out really nice. And then if we go on the inside, we got no gaps.
Other way.
And then you can definitely see on the inside, you got all this stuff here, you know, this paneling and stuff like that. These here, that's just from sliding the film. Those will all dry up, go away, no biggie there. And then we're all good to go. All right, so hope you guys found that helpful. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Boom. Hope you guys like that one. Those quarter windows, like I've always cut them short for years and years, like I said in the video, just like on the Fusions. They're like, it's always been that one little thing that I don't like to let go, but I haven't had a real issue cutting those shy. But in this video, I'm glad I was able to figure out what I feel like is a pretty easy way for somebody to try and tint up to the edge without having to remove the panel, remove the quarter. I've heard people can do that. I think I remember some old posts talking about it and stuff like that. But that's just another way to tackle those Honda Accord windows. So if you guys get them, remember that video. So actually, there's been quite the discussion on Lexan going on. They are in the chat right now, and this is really, really interesting. So I'm kind of glad that I did this video on the live stream so we can figure out a couple of things first off. So apparently there's two different types of carbon film that they sell. They sell a medium quality, they say, on eBay and Amazon, and then they sell on their website. I just peeked over, and it says a new 2-ply premium carbon, a 20-inch by 100-foot roll or a 40-inch by 100-foot roll, and they have their pre-cuts, and then they also sell a 20-inch by 10-piece and a couple of other things. The 20-inch by 10-foot, I'm sure that's just, you know, if you screwed up a couple of windows or you just want to do, basically you want to do like, yeah, you want to do like 2 front doors or something like that. That's why you would just order that, and it's like, it's $10 for it, so that's not bad at all. So I don't know if this is correct, so forgive me if it's not, but I do have a theory of why they would sell one quality on eBay and Amazon and one on their website and have similar pricing. And that alludes to something that I mentioned earlier, and that's the percentage that eBay and Amazon take. It's a very, very aggressive market on eBay and Amazon. You have a particular type of customer. You're not going to be able to do the volume that eBay and Amazon wants from you unless your price is really, really low and you can fulfill a lot of orders. So, you know, you could make it a little bit more expensive to cover those costs, but your orders go down and then you start losing out on the buy window. And there's all sorts of stuff behind the scenes for Amazon and eBay, especially if you guys notice, Amazon, what do they call it? There's not Amazon Basics, but Amazon Picks and stuff like that. And then for each listing, they also have your main primary Amazon window box winner, basically, and they're the primary store that Amazon features. And then you have a bunch of other sellers. If you dig through the text and stuff, you can buy from a number of different sellers, but it's supposed to be the same thing. So reasons like that, I mean, not so much, I guess, for just Lexan in particular, but just the aggressive nature of eBay and Amazon is why I would assume there'd be different qualities on one and the other at still a similar price point. So, like they said, if you want the better quality film, go over to their website. I brought it up. It's we'll just pull it up for a sec. It's lexanauto.com. They were not a sponsor of this video. I just figured since we're talking a lot about them, we might as well throw some clarity to what's going on here. So, I'm going to actually talk to them. I'm going to get in contact with them about just, you know, just for some clarity, what the film is made out of. So far, they've said in the chat that their film is a carbon film. It's not a dyed film. It's polyester with carbon particles. So that's why they can guarantee that it's not going to change colors on you. That's why they say it's a color stable film. So that's a really inexpensive carbon film. They're usually a lot more expensive than that. So it's really interesting. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of, you know, of this film in particular, just because it's so requested. And now that we know there's 2 different versions, so once, God, you know, it hollers back to when people were telling me that they were installing 3M, and it's like, okay, you're installing 3M, but they have a number of different lines, just like every brand. When you have Lumar, when you have GeoShield, when you have Avery Dennison, you can't just say, I'm installing Avery Dennison. They have a number of different lineups, but it was confusing for me in the beginning. I didn't realize that there was one grade of film on Amazon and eBay and one grade of film on their website, but it makes perfect sense to me why there would be. So hopefully that at least brings some light to the current situation. And now I guess I have to try another Lexan film, right? Hopefully that gets in some more views. I guess I'd do a comparison between the two. So yeah. But yeah, hope you guys like both of those videos. I'm open for, oh yeah. Let me I actually picked out a couple questions while the last video was playing, so I figured I'd go through and answer them really quickly. Somebody asked, what kind of blade do I use to cut? I use do I have them here? No. I don't. I have my. Oh yeah. These are really good. The Olfa stainless steel blades. Hopefully that focuses right there. Yeah, there you go. Olfa stainless steel blades. 60-degree blades. Definitely stainless steel. NT Cutter also makes some really good blades. I'd actually recommend those. They're just a tad bit sharper, they seem. But you want to be using stainless steel, not carbon steel. So carbon steels are going to be cheaper, but they're harder and they will scratch the glass easier. So use stainless steel. Stainless steel still could scratch the glass, but it's got a very similar hardness to most auto glass. So that's where they're a lot safer to use on auto glass than a carbon steel. However, if you look at my YouTube community post recently, I'll actually go ahead and let me grab that real quick. I got a link for you guys. So I'm gonna throw a link in the chat right quick for any of you guys that are interested. Oh, damn it. This is the wrong link. Shit. Hang on. Let me oh my god, I hate this keyboard. So 30-degree carbon blades are really good for top edges, I found out. They have a super clean edge, better than what I've been able to do on average with a stainless steel blade. The 30-degree is what you want to look for. They have more of a point to them, and that's what's going to help really get that edge, and it's a sharper blade too. So people have been talking about carbon steel blades for top edges for a while. I was just really impressed when I started using the 30 degrees, so that's what I'm running around with right now. What was it? 30 degree. I'm gonna pop a link in the chat of where you can see some // because YouTube wants that, and this should be a link. I just gotta double check that it's actually. Yep. Okay. The link's up. So check out that link in the chat, and then that'll take you to some good 30-degree blades, and then from there there's a bunch of other ones too out there. And then popping back into some of the questions. Somebody said, hey, I'm pretty new to tinting. What are good roll sizes to start off with? I do my work outside. I know it's not the best, but I can't afford a garage space yet. That is a tough environment. I applaud you for tinting outside. It is just not something that I do. But as far as the roll sizes go, the best to run around with are, in my opinion, if you want to carry multiple roll sizes, I run around with 36s and 20s right now. So 20s are going to cover most trucks and SUVs, and 36s can be split in half on sedan doors. So then it's really like 18 and 18 for sedan doors, and then 36 covers the majority of sedan and coupe back windows as well. So that's a good one to roll around with. The 20 inches are great for like trucks, especially the solid back window. It's almost a necessity for that without wasting too much film, unless you want to be a little creative with the way that you cut out your 36-inch rolls. The other option would be 40-inch rolls are pretty popular. If you want to just carry around one size, you really could probably use 36s for most situations, but 40s are just, they give you a little bit extra film. I can do most cars in 36s, and then with trucks and SUVs, I'll actually take a 36-inch piece of film and I'll flip it sideways now to cover trucks and SUVs, so I'm not just unrolling a bunch of film on the truck windows. So definitely, I run around with 36 and 20s, and then also just 40s are a good option too. And then if you can, inquire about the 60-inch price and then get it cut 36/24. That would be my advice to you, because there are companies that will sell 40-inch for a certain price, 20 for a certain price, and then 60-inch roll, they'll cut it down and sell it to you at a little bit of a discount because you're buying the full roll of film, because all film is manufactured. Well, there's probably a couple differences now, but 99% of automotive film, whatever, is manufactured in 60-inch rolls. So that is something to keep in mind. A $5 super chat. I see you. My God, Washington. Thank you very much for that. Have you ever used Armorland film? And if yes, what did you think about it? I actually have not. I just saw that somebody said it was the same stuff as Global, but it's just a brand name that I've picked up. Like, I've heard a little bit about here or there as far as like it mentioned, but I don't know more than that. It's something that I'd be happy to look into because you sent me $5. Moreland window film. So I'm gonna type it at least in my browser so I have it on a tab and I can remember to go back to it. But to answer your question, no, I have not. But yeah, it is something that I just saw recently talked about a little bit. Somebody said it was global, and global, if it is the same as global is some solid film. So that's something to keep in mind. How do you get rid of dry marks and how to prevent them? So especially now with summertime, you're going to run into a lot more dry spots on windows. So that really is just the glass is a little bit hotter or just the ambient temperature is hotter. So what's going to happen is, with windows being a little bit hydrophobic or something like that, every window is going to be a little bit different. When you spray down your window, put the film on it, squeegee it out. A lot of times, because I had somebody post this in my group, air pockets will like shoot back up to where you like squeegee something out, and then an air bubble might come back up into that path where you squeegeed. So you want to then take that air bubble and go straight down, because if you start running it back through the path that you already ran it, glue's going to start sticking to the window, and it's going to create those spots that you're talking about, those little air streaks and whatnot. So you could try adding a little bit more soap to your bottle because it is summertime, and also just be real even about how you squeegee things out. So start from the middle and just try and, like, if you're squeegeeing out the bottom of the window, just squeegee everything out evenly, and that's really the main takeaway from that. Also, if you do happen to get a little dry spot and you want to try and take care of it, if you haven't squeegeed out the rest of the window, a lot of the times you can actually pick up a water pool, so group some water together and then sweep it over, and sometimes you can pry the film back. The best way to take care of it is to pry the film back in a way, flush it out, and then sweep it back down, and then it'll all lay evenly and look really good. So there's a couple little tricks to try and at least make that easier, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll always happen, because I've had some where it locks down really tight and then the water will sweep around it. So, sometimes if you press it down pretty good, it might not look the greatest right then and there, but I've seen some pretty if it's like an air bubble, it's not going to go away. But if it's like a weird little, like almost like a little bit of a smear, depends on the film. Sometimes they will go away. The only way to be sure is to try and create those on your own car. Wait a couple days, see if they clear up. If not, then you know what you're dealing with. Hey, what do you think of the new version of baby shampoo? The new baby shampoo is completely fine. It's a little bit more gunky. Like getting it out of the bottle, it's not as smooth as it was before. And also they took the color out of it. They color the bottles now instead of the baby shampoo. But it's been fine for me. I haven't really noticed a huge difference, other than it's more like gloppy, and the bottle is like, most of the bottles are just a little annoyingly wider. So I, like in the wintertime when it would freeze, I'd drop the whole bottle into like some hot water in my tank, let it thaw out a little bit, and now it's just too big for that. But that's nitpicking. It still works well. I'd recommend it, along with the other regular automotive solutions like Tint Slime and Fusion All Type are really good. And Dawn, I've been using that a lot more. It seems to be a little bit more tacky. So if you want something a little bit more slippery from the store, go grab some baby shampoo. You can't go wrong there. Somebody said, tinting over 3 years professionally, 1 year dealer, more 2 years at the shop, ready to start my own gig. Any advice on film, tools, help, etc.? Well, because you have experience, shop around at some of the distributors that exist. So find a film that you like. I mean, there's a number of good brands out there. Lumar gets brought up a bunch of times. Lumar, Suntech, there's Global, there's Avery Dennison is what I'm using right now. Shop their websites. There's Solar Guard, there's Scorpion, there's XPEL, and just a number of other ones. Armalin was mentioned. GeoShield's a really good one too. So it's like there's a bunch of places to shop. So really just go through and look through what everybody, what people are saying in the groups, what people are recommending. that type of stuff. And then they'll send you samples. Like sometimes you have to pay for shipping or whatever, but a lot of times they'll just send you 10 feet to play around with in a couple of various options. So shop around and see what they like. Look at their offerings as far as percentages. You know, if you're down in Florida, like Patrick is, the legal limit there is I think 35 on the front and 15 on the back. No, 30 and 15. Where here in Michigan, nothing on the front is legal, but a lot of people will sell 35 instead. So some places don't offer 30 and some places don't offer 15, but a lot of them will offer 35 and 20. So just go shop around. It's hard to call out anybody in particular because there are just a lot of good options now. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through the chat really quick and see if I can pick out anything else. It's been moving a lot. So thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. It's good to have you, and I hope you had a good time tonight in the live stream. A lot of Lexan conversation. That's cool. If I do a review, I need to put somebody on the spot, right? But if I give a bad review of something, I don't just want to tear something apart. I tend to, I mean, with the cheaper stuff, it's really just, you know, I don't care about ripping apart an inexpensive film, but like a company that has an established brand, I don't really like to just go out and rip something apart unless it's really, really pissed me off in some way, shape, or form. So I don't like to review stuff that I don't like very much. So if I try it out and I don't like it, I just move on to something else. I might talk about it like in a live stream or something, but to give it a full spotlight, it's just not something that I'm super interested in. Just watch your Walmart tint, and it was very helpful. Thank you. What was the darkness of the tint that you used? In that video, I used the 35%. No. Shit. I mentioned right at the beginning what I used. It was either 20 or 35. So go back, rewatch the very beginning. I think it was 20. I'm pretty sure it was 20, so I could tell what the color looked like a little bit better. Yeah, it was 20. I'm like 80% sure. But I really want to see what the color was like, because in the darker shades, that's really when you get a feel for what it's going to look like. 35, it's like, you know, a little blue or a little green or whatever. It's not a big deal. It's a lighter shade. But when you step down into 20 and 15, now we're talking about comparing the coloring of that film really to what most trucks and SUVs are. And most trucks and SUVs are neutral to like a tan. So really more on the neutral side, but there is a little bit of like a tan color to a lot of them, maybe a slight green on some of them, but that's really where you're going to get the closest factory match. But on sedans, it doesn't matter. So Matt needs to get his commission from Lexan after this video for sure. I know, right? Hit me up, Lexan. Hopefully it's much appreciated, but it's cool. Like I'm glad we could actually have this whole big conversation about it, add some clarity, and there was definitely some confusion I saw in the chat. Like selling 2 different grades of film on a couple different platforms is all of a sudden like, wait, what? Really? The stuff that I used wasn't like, oh, okay. Guess I gotta get me some of your better stuff then. So, do you have a number to where I can contact you for a few questions or Facebook quick response? We actually have a contact on certifiedtinner.com. So you can shoot us a message there. You can actually text us, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. Also, email matt@certifiedtinner.com is a good place to shoot me a message. Facebook, all those social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, I try and at least get around to what I can, but messages have just come from all over the place. So somebody will message me on Instagram because they like Instagram and so forth. So it's just, I try and just stay out everywhere, but yeah. Messages come from everywhere, so it's hard to always get back to everybody. What's the best? We're gonna leave it up. Okay, so we're at 10:38 right now. We're gonna leave it up for just a couple more minutes, and then I have to close out. This has been a super fun one. Thank you guys for hanging out. J88 asked Matt, "What's the best shrinking method for door windows?" Snap shrinking takes it for me, absolutely. And then for back windows, just like I did in the video today and many times in the past, I would definitely dry shrink a back window. So that's either with dryer sheets. Patrick's dry shrink prep is also a really good product. Any like, you know, those methods, put it dry. I'm running over my own thoughts right now. Smear it all over the back window, let it dry, put the film on it, make your H pattern, and then shrink it up and down. It's just the fastest. It definitely has its own level of skill involved. Window tinting does in general, but back windows dry shrinking is difficult to learn. But wet shrinking, there are still guys that run around with wet shrinking, but it's more like you're tackling like fingers, like more condensed areas. And you can do like a teardrop method. Like there's a variety of ways to actually shrink a back window, but shrinking it all evenly, dry shrinking has always been my favorite method. So I would definitely recommend that. I should probably do a comparison between wet shrinking and dry shrinking. But the main issue I've always had with wet shrinking is the water takes away that heat. So anywhere, especially where that moisture is touching the film and the glass, the heat is starting to dissipate very quickly through those mediums. So it's just some spots will start to shrink a little bit faster. It's generally a slower shrink, and stuff, you know, you heat it up, lay it down, it'll start to pop back up. Where dry shrinking, it's just as soon as you start to heat it up, it just lays down. So definitely dry shrinking. Have you ever heard of ATC film? We have a self-branded one at Auto Tint City. They call it ATC film. And the only ATC that I know of is Lumar ATC, and I actually installed that for a while. That's their color stable film. Really good film, actually. I think it's a deep dyed color stable film. Definitely a little pricey for color stable, but yeah, Lumar's a big company. So if that's what it is, then that's what it is. That's my thoughts on it. Everything that I do is because of you. You're my hero. Please keep up with your videos. You have no idea how much your videos help other people. Aww. That's super nice. Thank you. I appreciate that comment. I try my best. I'm a bottom loader by heart, but watching your videos has helped me with the nice sorry, I'm at the point where I need to start wrapping things up. I'm stumbling over my words. I'm a bottom loader by heart, but watching your videos has helped with my 2-stage game. Thanks. Glad to hear it. I've seen a lot of people switch over to bottom loading, or that's what they're introduced to, and there's definitely nothing wrong with it. If you do pull panels, to me that's a little bit excessive work, but I really like even BMW, Mercedes, Audis, stuff with tighter seals. I 2-stage absolutely everything except for frameless windows. Frameless windows, I will do what people consider bottom loading. But everything else I 2-stage because it's just such a universal format to tinting, and it can be very straightforward. You just have to really focus on your technique for it. So that's all I would say, but I really appreciate that comment. Just want to try and make something as easy and straightforward as possible on as many cars as possible is really where I try and go. All right. What do you think of Hooper Optic? I've actually never seen it in person. I've heard they're a good heat rejection film, but I have not actually seen them in person. So that's unfortunately all I have to say. I should probably God, it's going to take some work. I really should try and hit up all of these companies and at least have samples, but it's like there's so many films to go through too. But yeah, I think they're German film, maybe. All right, we're gonna take one last question, then we're gonna roll up. Hey Matt, what's the difference between carbon tint and high performance film? Okay, so I'm gonna break this down really quick. There really isn't high performance film. I would just say would be a type of branding. All the professional films could be considered high performance. So the main difference, you have your 3 basic types of film right now. You have your dyed films, then you have your carbon films, and then you have your ceramic films. So those can intermingle a little bit. You can have a dyed carbon film, You can have a dyed ceramic film. You can have a carbon ceramic film. You can have, yeah, basically those. They all kind of intermingle a little bit, but those are basically your main three groups: dyed, carbon, and ceramic. So dyed is just like it sounds, like ink dye, or it's not just ink dye, but that's basically the premise behind it. So they color it with coloring made from dyes. And then you have your carbon film, which is carbon particles, and that's where a lot of the color comes from when you're talking about, well, I mean, definitely for carbon, that is the color as well. So you can intermingle like dyed with carbon a little bit. So using carbon particles to get a little bit more performance and color stability out of a film, and then mix in a little bit of dye to help with the clarity. So dyed seems to be the clearest right now. Carbon, because it's particles, can have a little bit of low angle haze. And then when you get into ceramics, that's still using ceramic particles. So ceramic only goes so dark, so then you got to mix a little bit of either carbon or dye into it to add the color to it. So hard to really like that's basically your three food groups of window tinting. So I could go into a lot more on that, and I probably should in the future. What's the two stage and bottom loading? God, I'm just gonna trail on into a bunch of questions. Two stage, installing. So two staging, or what? Like, we don't really have terms for these. We're just all tinners that have our own styles, right? So people just come up with these terms. So if you hear some stuff that sounds weird or different, or like you aren't sure, like we don't have a dictionary for this unfortunately yet, but there's just common terms that people say for this, say for the process of window tinting. So two stage, or two steps, or top loading versus bottom loading. So you install, like in a lot of my videos you see me install the top of the window first, roll it up, and then install the bottom. And then bottom loading is where you would either pull the door panel, pull the sweeps, and then basically install from the, like roll the window down a little bit, but because you freed up space in that seal, you're installing the whole piece of film at one time from the bottom. So people bottom loading, top loading, that's where you get all that different stuff from. Matt, will you test the heat rejection on Lexan carbon? Well, I guess I have to now. Yeah, I probably should do a comparison between their ceramic and like a super high-end ceramic. That would be a really interesting comparison. Our carbon film heat rejection is much better than dyed film. I'm gonna end on this note right here, actually. Or what is your opinion on doing 70%, including front windows? Okay, two questions, I swear to God, and then we'll close this out real quick. What is your opinion about doing, oh, and now I just got a super chat. Matt, thanks, Matt, on helping the Tint community. WTC for life dropped a super chat, so I have to say that too. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. What is your opinion on doing the front windshield in 70%, including front windows, as tinting front windows in UK is illegal? It's somewhat illegal here in Michigan too. It's that gray area where you can't really see it on the windows unless you tell somebody that it's there. So putting 70%, in my opinion, is completely fine. I mean, should you stay with your state laws? Yeah, but we were installing front windows on a number of things here in Michigan too. The Michigan state law is you can't have window tint on your front windows and windshield without doctor's note, except for the top 4 inches, but nobody does that anymore. But I just had a video, should have brought this up last week too. I actually have a video of GeoShield 70% on installing it safely on a Ford Focus windshield. So that video is still on my channel. You can definitely check it out. I think it's perfectly fine. You just can't tell a difference of if it's there or if it's not. Like if you were to tint only half, it'd be very hard to tell the difference from one side to the other because it's so clear. But it does a ton for you as far as solar benefits, you know, with the heat rejection especially. It really is a substantial difference from going with no ceramic to having ceramic on your window. It just takes that heat off your skin and definitely keeps your dash cooler. But yeah, definitely highly endorse 70% ceramics. Most people that are doing ceramics obviously want a little bit of color to it, but if you want to roll around with it and not get noticed, definitely go with it. It's super awesome. And I'm going to wrap up with this. Lexan says our carbon film heat rejection is much better than dyed film. That is because of carbon technology, carbon and ceramic. The carbon particles, they absorb IR, they absorb a little bit of heat. The carbon isn't quite as good as ceramic for heat rejection, which is where you have the high-end ceramic films. But dye, by and large, will just let heat through, and it really only comes down to the darkness of the film that starts to block out some of the heat, but really not a whole lot. So 20% dyed film is going to take a lot of the glare out of your eyes and make it a little bit more comfortable to drive around, but you're still going to be able to feel that sun on your skin. Carbon, it's a little bit better, but you still notice it. And when you get into the ceramic range, that's where it's really like you're sitting in the car, you got the sun beating down on you, and you just don't really feel it hardly at all anymore. That's what's so impressive about ceramics. So, and with that, we're going to go ahead and end things. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining in tonight and keeping the chat moving and running back and forth with Lexan. I want to actually thank Lexan for joining too, just to, you know, answer some questions about their film. I really hold that in high regard to, you know, yes, it had a pretty positive review. But you know, to tough it out, even if I might have said a couple not so great things about the film, it's still like, you know, that whole back and forth to try and make a product better, communication with the company. I really appreciate that type of stuff. So thank you for hanging out too. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and end things. And I will see you guys next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. And also Patrick's live stream will be 9:30 p.m. On the Window Tinting Business channel on Tuesday. So Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. and I'll be back next Thursday, same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then this video here, both videos will be uploaded to certifiedtinter.com, and same for the full broadcast of the live stream. And then the individual videos will be up there. So I'm going to leave this up for a couple days and then take it down, and then that's where those uploads are going to be. And all of the previous uploads, of course, are still on certifiedtinter.com for you guys to check it out. If you want to learn some stuff, you can browse through what we got and sign up. We have tools and whatnot. So again, thank you, and I will see you guys in the next one.